Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Minnick. That's my name. Math is my game. This morning, I'm joined by my Algebra 2 class. And what we're looking at today, it says modeling. Now, the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word modeling is probably Heidi Klum or Ashton Kutcher or something like that. Maybe Play-Doh, because who doesn't like Play-Doh, especially the salty kind? Because you know it looks so inviting to eat. So you put it in your mouth and it's a little salty and you haven't eaten all day, so it tastes pretty good. Anyway, when we say model in algebra class, what you got to realize is model in this context, it really means, it's really telling us to write an equation. So in algebra class, when they, whoever they is, when the directions ask you to model, all they're really saying is, you know what, we're going to write an equation, okay? Now, the particular form that we're going to write the equation in, it makes sense. At the beginning of the year, we said math is sequential. In other words, there's a sequence to everything. In other words, one thing follows another. The last thing we studied is standard form of a quadratic function, which is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not 0. And that's the model, that's the format, that's the tool that we will be using in conjunction with some other tools from the past. So just yesterday we had a quiz on standard form and vertex form. And when we get to the next section, we'll introduce a third form, and we're going to try to look and see the relationship between all three forms. So basically what's going to happen today is the y is going to remain y, the x squared is going to remain x squared, the x is going to remain x. And what we'll be doing is we'll be finding particular values of a and b and c. Now I could show you how to do this by hand without technology, and I might. However, with this, the algebra involved in doing this by hand, if you know what you're doing, takes about 5 minutes to do one problem. If you don't know what you're doing, it probably takes about 20 minutes to do one problem. Now, if you use the technology, it's still going to take about 2 minutes to set up the problem, and then we're going to use technology, and from there it's only going to take about 30 seconds. But we're going to get an answer that's in a foreign language, and we got to interpret it. So I hope that everybody's brought their A game today. Problem one, what they do is they give us 3 points here. They've given us 3 points, and they said, okay, hot shot, the parabola contains the point 0, 0, and the point -1, -2, and the point 1, 6, and then they say, what's the equation in standard form? Now, there is a hint here, and I really wish that hint hadn't shown up. But here's what we're doing. We're going to write y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. We're going to replace a with some number. We're going to replace b with some number. We're going to replace b with some number. And we're going to replace c with some number. Now, if you've brought your A game, well, one of you in here knows what one of those three values is going to be, and there's a very special reason why that is what it is. We either know A or B or C. Which one do we know? Maybe we need to back that thing up and go back to the notes from the other day ago, to the notes from 4.2. Let's go back to the 4.2 notes from last week. 4.2 notes, here we go. I wonder if there's anything in there that might help us. Standard form, blah, blah, blah. Let's turn my smart ink off here. It's going to mess me up. There we go. So standard form, we got this, we got this, we got this, we got this, we got this. We found H and K. Oh, there it is. Let me make that big enough for the world to see. There's our clue, the last bullet point there under the properties. That last bullet point, what's it say? The y-intercept is 0, c. The y-intercept is 0, c. So going back to the notes then, we should know what? A or B or C here? We should know C. Because the value of x is 0 right here. So we know the C value. Because that x value is 0, we do know that the C value here happens to be 0 also. Had that been the 0.09, the C value would have been 9. Had that been the 0.015, the C value would be 15. Had that been 0.1122, the C value would be 11.2. If the x value isn't 0, then that y value there is not the C. Okay, I want to be real clear on that. So we do happen to know then that the C value is going to be 0 so far. Because they give us the C, this problem is a lot easier. But I'm going to go through the steps one by one from the beginning to model the right way to set these up. So they give us some point, 0, 0. Is it fair enough that I can label this first 0 as x sub 1 and y sub 1? Is that fair enough? Does that make sense that I can do that? Just subscripts, it's my first x and y value? Okay. So my next point, I'll call it Q, is the point -1, -2. And I've got x sub 2 and y sub 2. Does everybody see what I'm throwing down there? I'm just relabeling the points, saying, okay, that's an x and that's a y. Now my third point there, the point 1, 6, I'm going to label that as x sub 3 and y sub 3. Okay. Now, there's a great bit of information there. It says, let's substitute x and y values into standard form to write a system of equations. Does that mean we're going to get two 10s and two 12s in a capacitor and throw it in the trunk? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're going to have 3 equations, 3 variables, and then we're going to have to go back to 2 weeks ago. What did we do 2 weeks ago to solve systems of equations? What did we use? Anybody remember? Maybe it was 3 weeks ago. Oh no, this is math class. We don't need to know anything from the past. We don't need to know any of that stuff we covered the first 3 weeks of school. What are we going to use? Somebody's going to say it. Somebody knows it. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. Week of 9:22. Nope, it's not there. Week of 9:15. Maybe it's not there. Week of 9:8. Oh, there it is. What are we going to use? A matrix. Yeah, we're going to use a matrix. There's a reason that I have this Mathway website open, because a lot of you don't have graphing calculators, and we're going to use Mathway and matrices. So it's all about the M's today, modeling, Mathway, matrices, math. It's all about the M's today. Here we go. Our first equation is going to look like this. Our first equation, I'm going to call it E1. That just is short for equation number 1. It's going to look like this. I'm going to substitute into standard form, so I'm going to replace y with the y value. So 0, y1, 0 equals, I don't know what a is. I'm trying to find a, so a is going to remain a variable in this context. A times x squared. Well, what's my x? I don't know. It's this 0 right here, okay? So a times 0 squared, and then plus b. I don't know b. I'm trying to find b. So b times x, and again, x is this x sub 1, this 0 in this context, and then plus c. Now, we do know that c is 0, but I told you I'm going to model this the right way, and I'm going to show you all the steps involved to write 3 equations. Does anybody have any questions about writing that first equation? So this kind of reminds me of spending the night at a hotel. If you've ever spent a night at a hotel 2 nights in a row, what happens the next day at about 10:30, there's a knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. And you say, who is it? And they say, what do they say? Housekeeping. They come to check your trash and to take out the trash and put new sheets on the bed or whatever, right? So what we need to do on this equation is we need to do some housekeeping. So what I mean by that is I want to have A first and then B and then C and then equals 0. I want the equation kind of in that lineup. But wait a minute. What's A times 0 squared going to simplify to be? 0. So all this is going to simplify to be 0. And then what's B times 0 going to simplify to be? It's also going to simplify to be 0. So we got 0 plus 0. And then C is just C, right? So plus C. So 0 plus 0 plus C equals. Now what I'm going to do, it's kind of weird, but I'm going to take this 0 over here and I'm going to bring it all the way over here. So what's that equal to? 0. And if you set that up, you kind of see, no pun intended, but you see that C equals 0, and we knew that all along, right? Okay. So this is kind of confusing, and hopefully it doesn't confuse you. We need to write 2 more equations. So is it fair enough if I shrink that equation down and move it out the way? Is that okay? Do you mind? I'm about to shrink this equation down, just for now, just for the time being. So, whoa. Okay. Maybe I better not. Maybe I'll just write this other one a little bit somewhere else. All right, I'll do it this way. So here's this other equation it's about to show up. Here we go. This other equation, I'm going to write y, which is negative 2, equals a times x squared. What's my x here? What's my x here? Negative 1, thank you. And then plus b times x, and what's my x? Negative 1 again, and then plus c. Hopefully everybody remembers where that came from. I'm just substituting into y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, leaving a, b, b, and c, replacing x and y with x and y. Well, here we are, day 2 at the hotel. Day 2 at the hotel, we're going to simplify this first term. Negative 1, the quantity squared, is positive 1, and 1 times a gives us a. Negative 1 times b gives us negative b. And c is c. And then I'm going to take this negative 2 and bring it all the way down here on the end, so that all equals negative 2. Okay. We okay so far? So we said we're going to have 3 equations. So far we've got 2 of them. It's about time we get the third one. So our third equation is going to come from this point. So it's going to be y, which is 6, equals a times x, which is 1, squared, plus b times x, which is 1, plus c. And it's time for some housekeeping. What's a times 1 squared going to simplify to b? A. And b times 1 is going to simplify to b? To bb. And c is c. And I'm going to bring the 6 over here, so that equals 6. So there I've got all 3 equations. How's everybody doing? If you don't get how to set up these equations, you're not going to be able to do the rest of it. I guarantee it. So let me see if I can't highlight all 3 equations. I got this one. I got this one. And I got this one. Are there any questions how those equations were born, where they came from? So far, everybody's on the same page with me? So now it's time to write a matrix then. We're going to write a 3 by 4 matrix. We're going to write a 3 by 4 matrix. The first row of the matrix is going to be the coefficients of A and B and C, and then that constant that everything equals. So the first row of my matrix then, the first row of my matrix is going to be what? Zero, 0. C's coefficient. C's coefficient. C's coefficient, because C's there, it has a coefficient, something other than 0. Its coefficient is 1, good. And then 0. Okay? Now, our next row is going to come from the equation in red, the a minus b plus c. Again, we're just putting in coefficients. Coefficients of a and b and c, and then the constant. So what do we got? 1, -1, 1, and -2. How's everybody doing so far, okay? Good. The last equation, or the last row of the matrix then is going to be the coefficients of the green equation of our third equation. So we're going to have a 1, and a 1, and a 1, and a 6. Now here's where we got to go to France. France, what are you talking about? Wasn't there a mathematical magic trick with matrices? I told you today's all about the M's. A mathematical magic trick with the matrices. We had to do some kind of magic to this matrix. What was it called? It started with an R, and then has another R, and then has an E, and then has an F. It was reduced row echelon form. That's what we want to do. We want to find reduced row echelon form of the matrix. If you have a graphing calculator, you can use it to do that. If not, you're going to have to go to Mathway. Now what the answer is going to look like, and it's not our final answer, but we're going to get something that looks like this. 1, 0, 0, and I don't know what's going to be here. We're going to get a 0 and a 1 and a 0, and I don't know what's going to be here. And we're going to get a 0 and a 0 and a 1, and I do know what's going to be here. It's going to be a 0 because we already said a while back that C is 0. So what this is going to tell me, that C is 0. This is going to tell me what B equals. We don't know yet because we haven't done the magic trick. And this top row is going to tell me what A equals, and I don't know what it equals yet because I haven't done the magic trick yet. And then we're still not going to be done. Holy crap, how long does it take to do one problem? A while. It takes a while. Once we get all that, then our final answer is going to be y equals something x squared, something x, and then the c we know is plus 0, right? So I guess now we just got to reduce row echelon form the matrix. Okay. Wow, that's a lot of work. It's not bad though. So let's go to Mathway. Hopefully somebody wrote down that last matrix. I don't know if I can remember it all. So hopefully if I forget any of it, get a little help here. So I'm going to Mathway. I need to put in a matrix. I'm clicking the matrix template. It's a 3 by 4. In the row 1 had a 0 and a 0 and a 0 and a 1. The next row was a 1. Oh, thank you. Good looking out. So the third element, first row is a 1 and then it's a 0. I appreciate that. Thank you. So then we had a 1 and then a -1 and then a 1 and then was it -2? Okay. And then the last row is 1, 1, 1, 6. Thank you. Now watch Mathway. Mathway's pretty intuitive. Did you see what it did by default while I was working? It said, would you like me to do that French magic trick? Yes, I would. It says find reduced row, blah, 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 blah. So let's click answer. And it did some work for us, so we're about to take a picture of that. So let me get my snapshot taker, my picture taker. So I'm about to take a picture of this. Oh, that's the wrong one. Thanks, Obama. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. That wasn't fair. That wasn't fair. So hopefully that took the picture. So we are drawing random black lines on the screen now. So we've got our hey, look at that. We got our reduced row echelon form matrix. Our reduced row echelon form matrix, there it is. There it is. So we do see that C is 0. What's the B value? The b is 4, and the a value is 2. So our final answer, then we're going to write y equals 2x squared plus 4x, and that's it. And that's it. Dude, that's a lot of work for one problem, I know. How long did it take? Like 10 minutes? Once we get one under our belt, I think the next one will go pretty fast, huh? Would anyone like to see how to do that on a TI Inspire or a TI 83 Plus? Not yet. We'll come back to that. All right, so again, just a quick recap. These notes will be on the line. They will be on my YouTube channel for you to check out. We got to write 3 equations. We substitute. We get 3 equations. We put the equations in a form where it's A, and then B, and then C, and then equals a constant. We did some housekeeping, and then we write a matrix. It's going to be a 3x4 matrix, and then we RREF the matrix, and then we got to write down our final answer. Okay. Well, I think it's time for another example. Here we go. This got it, number 2. It's almost the same thing, isn't it? Because they give us the C again, don't they? So let's see if we can write our first equation. Equation 1. Here's x, here's y. So 0 equals a times 0 squared plus b times 0 plus c. Let's clean that equation up a little bit. So it's going to be 0 plus c equals what? 0, good. Equation 2. What are we going to start with in equation 2? Good, -2. So -2, that's my y. So -2 equals a. We don't know a. It's going to remain a variable for now. A times 1, the quantity squared, and then plus b times 1, and then plus c. So when we do the housekeeping, what do we got? We got a plus b plus c equals -2. All right, good. So far, so good. And then our third equation, we're going to start with the y again. So what are we starting with? -4. So we got -4 equals a times -1 quantity squared plus b times -1 plus c. And we do some housekeeping. So we're going to get, is it -a? It's a, and then minus b plus c equals -4. Good. So we've got our 3 equations, and now it's time to make the donuts. It's time to make the donuts. It's time to play the music. It's time to start off right. It's time to play the music on the Muppet Show tonight. So now we want to write a matrix. So what's our matrix going to look like? It reminds me of Usher or some oldie song. What's Usher say? What was Usher like? I was like, oh, oh, 1, 0. Isn't that how our matrix goes? Oh, oh, 1, 0. That one kind of looks funky. There we go. And then our matrix is, the next one's going to be 1, 1, 1, -2, and then 1, -1, 1, and -4. How are we doing so far, okay? So what should I do with that matrix? Stare at it? I should get it tattooed on my forearm. I actually could get it tattooed on my forearm. So I'm going back here to Mathway, and I'm going to undo. Well, let me just start over. Yes, I want to erase that problem. I want a 3x4 matrix. My row was 0, 0, 1, 0. And then what was my next row? Was it all ones? 1, 1, 1, 1. -2 on the end. Good looking out. And then the last row, And so watch, it says, let's find reduced row echelon form. Yeah, let's. So we do that. We scroll down like so. We got our little camera. We go to take a picture. And so we draw random blue lines on the screen. And we say, thanks, Obama. And so our final answer is what? Final answer is what? What do we got? Yes, it's y equals, good. Negative 3x squared plus 1x. Now, this is varsity math, and if the coefficient's 1, we don't technically have to write it. So it's cool to just write plus x, and then there's no c on the end, and that's it. That's it. What do I think? I think one more and we might have this. And then we might have time to actually grab a Chromebook, or if you have a Chromebook, to fire that bad boy up. And if you have a netbook, or well, I got netbooks too. So we might have time to actually get started on the Math Excel one. So, whoa, dude, this is not even right. This is scary. You want us to do that one? No, let's go to a Math Excel one. Is that cool? Let's go to a Math Excel one. So we're about to go to a Math Excel one. If you've got your Chromebook, now would be a good time to fire it up and try one of these Math Excel ones with us as we go. We're going to do one more of these together. At the end of the video, I am going to show you how to do this on the graphing calculator in case you want to see. So I'm looking at my Algebra 2 homework, and this is Chapter 4, Section 3. It's due on the 10th. I'm going to question number uno. Your number 1 is probably going to be different than my number 1. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it. They did it again. So I'm going to go to number 2 instead. Sorry, I'm going to number 2. Because we need a little bit of variety. We need a little bit of spice in our lives. Try Tabasco sauce on your over easy eggs next time. Actually, when you're making your over easy eggs, when you first put the egg down, before you put your pepper and your salt in it, put a little bit of Tabasco in there. You won't regret it. Well, maybe you will if you're. Tabasco is where it's at. So I need 3. Can we just? Well, I need 3 equations. Let's start off that way. What do I start with for equation 1? What do I start with? Because a lot of people want to skip steps, and when you start skipping steps, then you kind of get lost. What do we start with here? Y. So what's my Y? 107. So 107 equals A times what? 4 squared plus B times 4 plus C. So let's do some housekeeping on that equation. What's 4 squared? 16. So my first equation is going to be 16A plus how many B? Plus 4B plus C equals what? Equals 107. Somebody might be asking, well, why isn't the sign changing? Well, it's not, because all I'm doing is just writing it on the other side. It's not switching sides. I'm just kind of... Is everybody cool with the sign staying the same on that? If it had been 0, 107, the C would have been 107. You got it. Good. Great question. Great question. So let's look at equation 2. Equation 2 is going to be what? 27 equals A times 2 squared plus B times 2 plus C. So housekeeping, how many A's are we going to get? 4A plus 2B plus C equals the 27. Everybody cool with that? I think by now we might be ready to jump right to the right to the house kept equation. Can we try that? Can we try that? Here we go. Let's go right to it. So how many A's are we going to have for this third equation? It's going to be 1 squared, so yeah, it's going to be A. And then what? Plus B plus C, and that's going to equal 8. So our matrix that we're going to be using is 16, 4, 1, 107, 4, 2, 1, 27, and 1, 1, 1, 8. Everybody cool with that? So here we go. Math way. Got to find the right window. I guess I got to open up another window. So math way, I'm making a 3 by 4 matrix. And so I got 16, 4. I said 4, I wrote 3. 1, 107. And then it was 4, and 2, and 1, and 27. And then it was 1, and 1, and 1, and 8. And I want to find reduced row echelon form. Bam. So I'll take a picture of that. So I got to be real careful when I write this. So I think we're ready. Are you ready? Are you ready? So what's my answer going to be on this one? Y equals what? Y equals, remember what this first row tells me. What's that first row tell me? It tells me what A equals. It said A equals 7, so my answer is going to be Y equals what? 7x squared, good. The second row tells me what B equals. So after the 7x squared, what am I going to write? Minus 2x. And then this third row tells me what C equals. So what happens after the negative 2x? A plus 3. So let's see if we did that okay. Let's see if we did that right. So y equals 7x squared. I have to get out of the superscript. A lot of you forget to do that. And then it's what, minus 2x plus 3? Bam. Good job. All right. Real quick, what I want to show you now is how to do this on the Inspire. This will be online if you want to watch it. I'm going to a list page. And in my Inspire, I'm going to put a label for X in column A and a label for Y in column B. And I'm going to put in my points. Oh gosh, I already forget. Well, what were my X's? Was it 4 and 2 and 1? And my Y's were 107, 27, and 8. So what I'm about to do is highlight both lists. And then I'm going to go Menu, Statistics, Stat Calculations, Quadratic Regression, and it'll give me my A and B and C value just like that. So I think that's a little faster. But anyway, that's it. It's been real. It's been fun. Hope it's been educational. You got probably 10, 12 minutes to wrap up the homework, and I will be passing out the written homework too. Good.